Hey guys, welcome back to another video showing how to load in presets. So these presets are going to be set up, or this preset panel is going to be over on the right side. This is my preset panel and how to currently load it in. And what this does is it currently loads in all of the JSON data that I've generated from all the models inside the game. This should be able to load every model that is currently inside the game. That is in the common core files of Dying Light 2. You can filter this by hitting this drop down here. Custom is going to be anything that you've created. If you have not created any of the, if you haven't created a new creation, it won't actually let you click on custom. So if you click it and nothing happens, it's because you haven't created a new creation. And so it's not in that folder currently. But you should be able to go through here and filter out by man, woman, child, biter, special infected, and viral. And kind of the idea here is that you can also continue to filter by entering in a search text here. So if you want to only show banshees, you can filter those down by entering in that text. Will update with every letter that you add. So for example, if you want to go in here and say like runner, or you just want to start to plug in, different values that you think might actually be one. So if we do something like Aiden, you can actually see, so these two are custom ones that I've done. So it'd only be these top two. And some of these names, so just because they have the names that you're aware of in the game does not mean that that's what the name of the files are. So some of these you actually have to kind of scroll down and get familiar with. Like for example, probably the most common one is like with the screamer. It's actually the howler inside the game, but inside the game code, it's a screamer. That is true of several of the different variants. So I've tried to add this image system so that you can kind of browse through here and see which ones are available to load in. So when you're loading in the different ones, so some of these pictures might be outdated. You can actually update these photos very easily by pressing this camera button, and I'll show you an example here. So let's go ahead and say we want to load in a volatile. To be able to do that properly, first, this is not going to be a human, so we're going to have to go set this to infected. And then from here, we're going to have to set the category to special infected. Whoop. And the class, so I'm still setting up the bindings for all the different ones. So say, for example, we want to load in a volatile. You can go set that. So from here, you can see that some of the sliders didn't get cleared. That's actually from where there are sliders from the player side. So if we go in here and clear that out, and then we'll switch back and go to the special infected. And I'm leaving some of these so that you guys can see I'm still in the process of hooking up all of the different entries for the skeletons. So please be aware that basically what this is doing is it's loading the specific skeletons for the different characters. Some of these, like for example, you notice that when we do the head, it actually loads a body here. That's actually where it's all coming from the JSON data. So all of this is not things that I've set up. These are all things that are coming direct from the files. So somewhere in the files, it was set up to where they loaded the volatile as, and actually I believe, I'm trying to remember in the code how many times they reference the head versus volatile. So it's actually kind of funny. So a lot of these are set up to where there's actually each one of these different materials for every single variation. They have very interesting ways that they're loading in all the different parts for these. So some of it may not feel natural, but the reason I've set these up on sliders like I have is because I'm basically trying to give you guys the ability to load in as much detail as possible. And to do that, you're going to need each one of these sliders to really fully load in all of the different values, how they need to be loaded. And so you can do it. It just is a little strange for different ones. Please be aware that I've tried to make that as user-friendly as possible, but it is a little strange sometimes on the different settings. So if we want to go and load in the different ones, all we have to do is basically, I think this one actually might need some additional sliders as well. So I don't think I have this one completely flushed out, but this is a good example so that you're kind of aware of what I'm doing over time, is that for the preset to load in properly, you need, again, match up special infected, special infected. And from here, we should be able to then go and click on the different presets, and they should load in without issue. Looks like the neck is kind of a standalone piece here when they had the pumpkin ones. And so what I need to do is basically add the neck to where it shows up in these other ones as well. So that way you could basically set the torso, set the neck here, and that way it would load everything in. So I'll add that manually, or I'll set that up in the code to where it's properly sorted. If you guys see things like this to where you load in the full preset and it's not fully loading in, just let me know. Again, that can be used if you watched the earlier video. At any time you can press F12 and you can actually go into the folder. So again, if you didn't watch the earlier video, that's going to be in the underscore data, crash reports, and then in the latest file that you just created. You can just let me know what you're trying to load, and I'll expand this code in the future to also show the actual name that you clicked to load in. But basically this will let me know what you're trying to create and what I can then see for myself. Oh yeah, that's not loading in properly. And we're just going to have to kind of trial and error some of these things until it's all worked out. But you can see here, even where it's trying to bind that skeleton properly, you can see where it's actually morphing that skeleton to be in the appropriate location. So let's go back to the humans and have another example here. So say, for example, we want to go back to the player. And so we need to switch our type up here to human, and then player. And I promise I've done this so that it really helps limit the amount of data that's getting loaded onto these sliders, as it is quite a lot of data. Once you've loaded this back up to where now you're on player, you can load in any preset that you want, and it should show up. If you, for whatever reason, have this on, let's say we have child selected in category, and I press this, it's more than likely just going to let you know that it couldn't be assigned to any slot and nothing's getting loaded in here. Maybe some things do load in. So say, for example, on the female characters do use some of the male pieces and sometimes player pieces as well. So maybe you will actually find ones that will load in when you have the incorrect one set. And I'll try to make that a little bit more obvious in the future, to where maybe even, for example, pressing this actually sets this as well. I've been trying to make it to where you guys can browse as much as you want and select as much as you want without it forcing you to do certain patterns. But please let me know your feedback on that system, and we'll update as you guys see fit. So for mixing and matching, so say we have a character that we really like the outfit for that character, but we actually want to go in here and make some changes. So let's say, for example, we want specific armor that we found on one of the other characters, or specific accessories that were on another character. At any time, you can load in a preset and then select a specific part of the body. So say, for example, we want to apply the Hunter basic outfit to this Brecken outfit as well. So you can see here that we've only applied the head so far. So this was head accessories, the masks. And then say we want to go down here to the accessories. So the backpacks, the decals. When we press it again, looks like it didn't really load much that time. And then let's go down here to our shoes. I don't think they have any actual armor here. We can also go up here to, I don't know if I want to do the torso, because that will set pretty much everything. But for this example, you could say, like, okay, maybe we only want to set the top, but we don't want the pants. So we want to kind of mix and match the pants that are from one and then blend those with the others. You could also do like the sleeves or the gloves and bring in those different pieces as well. So then we want to go up here and let's say, all right, actually, I want to load in Hack-On's different settings here. So let's go in here and actually set some of that. So you can see that loads in this data set, and then say, okay, actually, I want to change the head to where it's this character. So you can actually very quickly mix and match and set these different values using your presets. You can actually come up with a lot of fun combinations just using that system. And it's very easy to clear some of these things out just by hitting the delete button and continuing down this list. So if you want to just kind of continue to go through here and see what's available, you can. Be aware that when you press some of these, it will reset the sliders for each one. So as you're going through the different ones, so just be aware of that so that when you press it again, you continue to update what is being filtered down. Otherwise, it will overwrite some of your settings. And I'm still interested to hear you guys' feedback on that system. So you can always give me your feedback on how you would like to flow through the different patterns here of setting and loading in this information. But a lot can be achieved just by toggling the different presets and then loading this in. So say, for example, we want to load in Peacekeepers or the PK, and we only want to set PK armor on these guys. So say we want to find, here we go. So we have this guy has some of the armor that we want. So first we'll go to the chest armor. And actually, this is a good example. So again, I didn't set this to man. So once we set that to man, and then we press this again, it will then load that armor onto this character. And then if we set the legs here, we're actually going to set leg armor. We'll press it again. And so that loaded the leg armor on there as well. The reason that these categories are separated out like that is that there is currently a clipping issue that I'm sure many of you are aware of. If you're not aware of, there is a first-person view clipping issue where some of these armor pieces will show a weird transparency issue. You can turn that off by hitting the options here and disabling the show or save first person model. You can set this to where we'll only update your first or your third person model. That's really good for coming up with all sorts of combinations and not worrying about what it looks like in first person or having any clipping. But if you do want that first person view as well, so you can look down at your pants or look down at your arms, make sure you have this set as on. And then when you're loading in, I actually had this question earlier. What I recommend is at a bare minimum, if you want to ensure that you are getting the default setting here, you can go back to player and then type in skeleton. So this is the name of Aiden. And when you press this, it should load in the very specific pieces onto the model. So this now loaded those specific hands and arms onto this model. So you can assume that those will be set correctly. Now things like these gloves, maybe not. So what I would recommend is for anything that you can see on your player downward, like your boots and all of that, if you don't want any weird transparency issues, for now the fastest way to solve for that is to make sure your category is set to player. And actually I can see when I applied that, I don't believe that actually fully applied because I had it set to man. So again, still ironing out some of these UX things. So if it's set to player, and the error message usually gives that away. So we're set to player, we've loaded in Aiden's arms. If we go to gloves, if you set these gloves to anything in this list, it should be things that they have set up properly to not have these clipping issues. And so when you're going through here, you could try to find a pair of gloves that you think matches this piece of armor best. And as long as it's inside of this player list, then it's less likely to clip when you load this in. So once we have the preset set how we want, let's do some quick alterations here for the mask accessory. So I think it's probably going to be under, if we go here to hat, it's probably this hat accessory. There we go. And then we'll go ahead and load in and see how this looks so that you guys can see what this looks like in the game. So once we have our presets set how we want, you can go to the Save tab. And then once we have this, you can see the little frame pops up for taking your photo. If you want this to be a player model, just make sure the category is set to player. And then for this, if it's set to Aiden or the original player skeleton, you should be fine. But the idea is that basically just hit this reroll when you select player, and it will set this to Aiden, and the code will automatically go and create the first person model and the third person model for you. So as long as you have that directory set, and if you've logged into Discord, you should then see this button appear to share this creation. You can see currently I'm still on the original Aiden model, so this is obviously not what I'm currently working on. For this to show up, you need to hit save. And you can see now that we have a saved file. You can actually see that the name has updated as well. And then when we go back to presets, you should now be able to actually go to custom. And you can see here that we now have our actual preset showing up there. And then if we actually want to share this out, we can share this online. So if we want to share this on Discord, you can go in here and hit share on Discord. And that will actually bring up a notification on Discord. You can see that we just shared that so that everybody could actually get to it. I'll go into a little bit more in another video about sharing and downloading your creations, and show you guys how to load the different settings here. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to pause the video. We'll go ahead and launch the game so that you can see what this looks like. One additional note is that when you are saving the file, it will go and create a new data pack with the number, the highest available number. So if the highest available number that you've previously had is 2, then it will create a data pack with 3 in the name. So if your highest one is 7, I believe it should be able to find the gaps in between. So if you have 8 mods installed or 7 mods installed, it will try to name it to the highest number. So just be aware that's how it's currently loading in. If you load back in and you don't immediately see it show up on your character, more than likely that's where you've actually got armor applied to your character. So it's actually creating these players to where you should be able to actually go wear garments and armor over it. And so as you add different ones inside the game, they'll actually go on to replace the different ones. This can currently be a problem for the legs. So as I mentioned earlier, not all of these legs actually have shoes. So you still have to ensure that you have shoes properly assigned to that slot. Otherwise, in this case, we didn't assign shoes to that model. And so we end up with this issue where it's basically turning off the footwear when loading in. But you could see that we did properly get our full model on here. And so we are actually able to fully play as this character. I think I don't entirely, well, no, actually the PK armor is on there for both. And so everything did properly bind. And so when we go in here and look down, you can actually see that we also have those pants. And one of the things that was mentioned to me is that the field of view is actually something that I was setting through I Am Legion, and that needs to be updated. So if you're getting an issue with the field of view not looking correct, you can actually just go set this inside the options. They were telling me this would work, but I still need to adjust that. You could actually see where it adjusted back. So we do have that properly lined up, but as you can see there is currently a transparency issue with that glove and with the arm that it's on. And so it looks like the rest of the model loaded in just fine. We're going to want to adjust the gloves to where the gloves no longer have that clipping issue. Because the gloves and the hands are probably the biggest one, because obviously when we go over here and we grab a weapon, you can see here that we end up with clipping on the weapon itself. And so that's still something that I'm working on trying to adjust so that we don't have that transparency issue. Again, the fastest way to solve for that is to basically disable the output to where it's saving the first person model. So you can enjoy all of the new skins without having to worry about this issue just by disabling that for now. And as I continue to come up with new solutions for that, it'll be easier in the future, hopefully. All right, guys, thanks for watching. This is for loading the presets. I'm going to actually, because this has gone longer, I'm going to do another video for sharing and downloading the new presets that you find on the Discord. All right, guys, thanks for watching.